Well, President Barack Obama routinely used executive orders when faced with Republicans in Congress who he felt weren't willing to cooperate.
Now, in his first few weeks in office, President Donald Trump, too, has turned to issuing numerous such orders to fulfill promises he made on the campaign trail. So what exactly is an executive order, and why is it different from a law, say, passed by Congress? And does it have limits?
Also, what does it mean for the ongoing case on the president's travel ban currently in federal courts? Well, University of Washington law professor Kathryn teaches this very topic and is very familiar with it and is here to try to break it down for us. Good morning.
Good morning.
Let's start with some broadness here. Could you talk about the balance of power, the executive, the judicial, the legislative? I mean, the founders set things up so that there were checks and balances.
Sure, absolutely. Our government is structured into three parts. We've got the legislative branch, which makes laws, the executive branch, which is the branch that's supposed to execute and enforce the laws, and then the judicial branch, which interprets the laws. So our framers did structure things and divide power up. Having said that, sometimes there's a little bit of overlap, and that's where things can get confusing.
So when we're talking about executive orders, the way that we're talking about it now is this has been signed, this is what he wants to have go into law. How much power is truly behind it, and what needs to happen next in order to make it law?
So an executive order is just a signed piece of paper by the president that tells those that work for him what to do or what not to do. How much effect that piece of paper can have, whether it really can be effective like a law might be, depends on whether the president has the legal authority to take action that's going to be binding on people. And that legal authority could come from Congress. Congress could give the president that power, or it could come from the Constitution. But if the president doesn't have legal authority to act from either the Constitution or a statute, then those orders that are signed are really nothing more than a piece of paper. They're not legally binding.
So just to clarify, though, when the paper is signed, no matter what, it still has to go through one of those other branches, is what you're saying?
No, absolutely not.
Congress doesn't even have to vote on the executive order.
That's right. These are just simply the president's pieces of paper that he signs. His advisors help him write, and he signs. And they don't go through Congress.
To become law?
To become law. So they aren't laws. Only Congress makes laws.
Right.
That's where it gets confusing, as I was saying, that there's this overlap. Congress makes laws, but the president, in effect, makes under law, you might call it. He makes things that have the same kind of effect as law. Executive orders can have that same kind of legal effect. Look at the travel ban. People suddenly could not enter our country. That had the same effect as a law might have, but it's not something that goes through Congress. The president gets to do it on his own so long as he's been given that power. That's the crux of the fight over the travel ban right now is, did Congress give the president the power to issue that kind of order, or does the president have some kind of constitutionally based power to issue that order? If not, then that order can't be in effect.
And an executive order is not something that necessarily lasts beyond a current president, for example. I mean, Barack Obama might have signed something that then the Trump administration comes in and it overturns it, unlike a law that would have to be repealed or a new law passed or something like that and go through Congress.
So executive orders stay on the books, so to speak, until a new president chooses to take them off the books. So they do stay in place, but they can easily be undone with the stroke of a pen because, again, they didn't go through Congress. There's no need for the same kind of lengthy legislative process to undo it. A stroke of a pen, Trump could undo an order that Obama had put into place.
If I were president, I would just do everything via executive orders. I mean, honestly, that sounds... Maybe I'm misunderstanding, but if someone's like, hey, you can just sign this, and as long as it's legal, we'll do it. So I guess I'm still confused as to what is convincing a president to go about it another way.
So let me give you maybe two quick examples
Sure.
to contrast. So President Trump would like to build a wall at our border. So he issued an order that says, go build a wall. That actually doesn't do anything. Why not? Because to build a wall, we need a lot of money. A lot. Estimates say $8 billion to $25 billion. Who under our Constitution has the power to decide whether to spend money on things? Congress. So he can pass a piece of paper, sign a piece of paper that says, go build a wall, but all it is him saying to people, go try to find money to build a wall. So this is a powerful political signaling tool, a communication tool to his officers. But in and of itself, it doesn't mean that we're going to build a wall. We need money for it. So that shows you how it's a tool that can be powerless if the president is not given the power to do that thing in the first place. Contrast it to the travel ban, where the president thinks he has been given statutory authority to issue this ban. If that turns out to be true, which there's a huge court case questioning that, but if it turns out to be true, then you see how there, signing a piece of paper, immediate impact.
So the president could say all of my employees need to wear bow ties, and if they directly answer to the president, they would have to do it. But I don't work for the president, so I don't have to wear a bow tie if I don't want to. But if Congress passed a law that said everybody in the U.S. has to wear bow ties, I have to unless I want to go to prison.
It's a great way of thinking about it because really, yes, the president can issue orders to those who work underneath him, right? And he can have different impact on them than he can on you or me since we are not government employees. And so most orders are directed internally at government officials that work within the government, telling them to not do something or to do something. Those aren't terribly controversial. Where they get really controversial is when we move into this arena like the travel ban, where you see the direct impact on us, individuals outside of the government.
And do you see that going either way?
That case, I think there's a high likelihood of success on the merits for those that are challenging the travel ban. As we've seen from numerous federal judges at these preliminary stages, they've determined that there's a high likelihood of success. But there's many different wrinkles and procedural issues and legal questions still to sort through.
So much to sort through. Professor Watts, thank you so much.
Sure.
Really great insight. We appreciate it.
Sure, thanks for having me.